what do you think? Do you think he's a fascist?
Well, I'm looking at the definition of fascism. It's a far-right, authoritarian, ultra-nationalist political ideology and movement characterized by a dictatorial leader, centralized autocracy, militarism, forcible suppression of opposition, belief in a natural social hierarchy. So certainly, in my experience, those are the kind of things that he thinks will work better in terms of running America. Again, back to this issue of democracy is complicated, messy to operate. Probably the worst kind of government there is, except for all the other ones. I think Churchill once said that. And again, our Constitution, our founders built in to the Constitution and to the way our government operates, built in a lot of checks and balances, and didn't design the government streamlined and whatnot. So, but certainly the former president is in the far right area, certainly an authoritarian. Admires people who are dictators. He has said that. So he certainly falls into the general definition of fascist, for sure.
If he was left to his own devices, would he be a dictator if he didn't have people around him?
Oh, I think he'd love to be. I think he'd love to be just like he was in business. He could tell people to do things and they would do it, and not really bother too much about whether what the legalities were and whatnot. But again, I didn't know him before, so I can't really.
If he was.
And I think this issue of using the military to go after American citizens is one of those things I think is a very, very bad thing. Even to say it for political purposes to get elected, I think it's a very, very bad thing, let alone actually doing it.
So you're saying when you saw him say that recently, and as he said on the campaign trail, that was something that really concerned you to the point that you thought, as you sat there trying to figure out what to do, you thought maybe it's worth answering some questions about this.
Yeah, it is. And I go back to George Washington and how he set up, before there was an America, how he set it up so that the military would stay out of, would not be used in the United States or in the domestically, and that the way forward was for military officers not to be involved in politics. And again, unless you're someone like me or Mattis or people like that retired from the military or left the military, like Mark Esper or Mike Pompeo, and then go into a political job, whether it's elected or assigned by the White House, it's a little bit different because you're then involved in it. But for the most part, and that's why I'm so hesitant to talk. It's certainly never to tell or recommend to an American who they should vote for, because now that I'm out of the political job, I'm back to being pretty much a retired military officer who should not get too involved in this kind of thing. Yeah, I mean, until the former president started talking about this, and this goes back to when I was in the White House, for that matter, DHS, I was, originally the conversation would be, Mr. President, that's outside your authority, or, that's a routine use. You really don't want to do that inside the United States. But now that he's talking about it as I'm going to do it, it's disturbing.
I mean, is he the biggest threat to the country that you've seen in your life out of all the threats, like post 9/11, all these different things?
Well, I think he's certainly the only president that has all but rejected what America is all about and what makes America America in terms of our Constitution, in terms of our values, the way we look at everything, to include family and government. And he's certainly the only president that I know of that was certainly in my lifetime that was like that.
And did the former president appreciate the Constitution? Did he appreciate any of these things?
No. It was fascinating. I mean, he doesn't know a lot about American history, and certainly as a I guess a farmer executive in his civilian world, I guess you can't be a dictator because you can fire people pretty easily, and the only thing theoretically that you have to follow is the law. But then again, an awful lot of people break the law and expect subordinates to break the law or to circumvent the law somehow. And that's where he was coming from. That was his worldview.
Did he expected the people that worked for him to break the law?
Well, when he would give, and I think I've told you this many times, when he would tell me that he wanted to do something, 100% of the time I checked with the White House counsel, because oftentimes he wouldn't have the authority to do what he wanted to do. And again, that's an interesting point, because if you listen to, certainly my study of presidents, and if you listen to presidents when they leave office, whether they write a book or do interviews, one of the things that surprises them initially was how little power they actually had, and how much they had to work with the Congress to get things done. And most of them accepted that and worked within the rules of what the Constitution dictates. It's frustrating, I'm sure. Well, I know it's frustrating for them, because their agenda that they're trying to push, and suddenly they have to go to the Congress to get money, and if the Congress is not inclined to go along with it, then it's very frustrating. But that is the law.
And when he was confronted with the fact that he couldn't do something, did he want to do it anyway? I mean, when he was confronted with the fact that he couldn't do something legally, did he want to do it anyway?
He would try to make the case that he did have the authority. He commented more than once that that Hitler did some good things too. And of course, if you know history, again, I think he's lacking in that. But if you know what Hitler was all about, it'd be pretty hard to make an argument that he did anything good.
So what would you say when he said to you that Hitler did a lot of good things?
Well, I tell him that. I said, sir, first of all, you should never say that. But if you knew what Hitler was all about from the beginning to the end, everything he did was in support of his racist, fascist life, philosophy, so that nothing he did you could argue was good. It was certainly not done for the right reason. And but he would occasionally say that.
What would he say when you would lay that out to him?
You just, that would be the end of the conversation usually.
Does he have disdain for the disabled?
Certainly his not wanting to be seen with amputees that lost their limbs in defense of this country, fighting for every American, to him included, to protect them, that didn't want to be seen with them. That's an interesting perspective for the commander-in-chief to have.
Why didn't he want to be seen with them?
He would just say, look, it doesn't look good for me. So anyways, I don't know. not a psychiatrist. If you're a psychiatrist, I guess you could take a stab at some of these questions, but I'm not.
But he basically said to you that those who die for America on the battlefield were losers and suckers, and he said it more than once.
Yes, but he would say it would always did something else would get him going. Oftentimes again the game he talked about, and it was like almost a recording. But the point is, anyways, he would say it at times, sometimes unexpectedly, but he never could wrap his arms around why people would serve the country in uniform. What was in it for them? That was the general theme. I think that's much more actually powerful than talking about what he said about, loosened line. I think he just could never wrap his arms around why people would do things selflessly. What's in it for them? I think that's a much more powerful, but that's just me. I'm not recommending anything to anybody. I'm just saying, other than that, when you're looking to vote for someone, regardless, you got to look at the character and all of those kind of things, and then start looking at the individual's policies. We can always, even if you're a conservative Republican, much of what's gone on the last 3.5 years hasn't been what you wanted to have happen to the country. But we can get by it because you might have a Republican come in the future. But if a person's character isn't at least minimally acceptable, then I think that person can do a lot more damage. So we've got to. I just wish. I'll end with this. I just wish at the end of all of this, whoever wins, that person and the leadership in the country, certainly the political leadership in Washington, to include the House and Senate, that people say, okay, let's take a breath, let's step back. This has been really, really hard. Let's try to come back together as Americans. Stop hating each other just because we have a difference of opinion on political issues. I just hope we do that somehow. I don't know if we will, though, but I hope we will. I hope whoever becomes the president will